Bluey is filled with small details, but these small details are missed by many. Don't worry, because in this video we're going to share some of the small details that you probably missed. Like, in the episode Baby Race, we noticed a really interesting detail. As we all know, in Baby Race, Chili tells the story about baby Bluey's first step. But the interesting part about this episode is, if we look at Chili's appearance in the flashback, we can notice that she has no gray hair. And not just Chili. If we look at Bandit, he also doesn't have any of the gray hairs on his face. This basically shows how they have aged throughout the years. This is a really small detail, but it makes Bluey even more fun to watch. Now this next detail is really awesome. In the episode Show and Tell, when Bandit, Bingo, and Bluey are traveling somewhere, we noticed an electrical box beside the road. And if we zoom onto the box, we can notice that it has a mural of what looks like Bluey and Bingo. Well folks, this is a nod to a real-life landmark that can be seen in Stafford Road, Australia. This is the real-life electrical box that the show has featured. This is a small but a really cool detail. Now this next detail is really cute. If you have watched Bluey closely, then you would know that on Bluey's bed, there's uppercase B carved on it, and on Bingo, it's lowercase b, signifying Bluey is big sister and Bingo is small. This is a small but really cute detail. As we know that Jean-Luc speaks French, the episode where Bluey meets Jean-Luc is simply unforgettable, and one of the things that stands out the most is the fact that even though they speak different languages, they both still manage to play and form a beautiful friendship. But did you know that if you watch the camping episode in French, Jean-Luc will speak English? Yes, in the French version of the show, the language is reversed. Bluey speaks French and Jean-Luc speaks English. That's so cool, isn't it? A lot of you may know the fact that originally Rusty was supposed to be the main character of the show until the show's creators changed their mind. And that is why both Bluey and Rusty have practically the same design as he would have been the protagonist of the series before Bluey was chosen for the role. Rusty's species is the Australian red kelpie, and this type of dog always has a spot on its chest, and if you stop to notice, you'll see that each of Rusty's family members has a different design on their chest. Rusty has a diamond, while his little sister has a small circle, and his older brother has a downward arrow. Rusty's mother has a design that looks like a lightning bolt, and his father a triangle. This is a really cool detail. We all know about the long dog and the tennis ball Easter egg by now. But do you know there's also another item that appears a lot in the series? We're talking about the pineapple symbol that appears frequently throughout the episodes. And you might ask, why does this fruit appear here so much? Well, this pineapple is actually the logo of Ludo Studio, and they are the ones that make this show. So, this is a very subtle and clever Easter egg. Now let's talk about a rather strange detail. You might have noticed that a few characters always wear clothes in Bluey. Among the few who do, Indy, Bluey's classmate, who always wears a vest, certainly stands out. But besides her, we also have the characters Chippy and Sparky, who are the two workers who make the lake in the healer's backyard. There are some other characters with no names who always appear wearing clothes. There are also the characters who work in the stores and supermarkets of Brisbane, except for Alfie, who helps Bandit buy Muffin's birthday present. Speaking of clothes, we can say that the characters' clothes in Bluey are actually their fur, except in the cases we just mentioned. But in the episode Stumpfest, there's a scene involving Stripe that is related to this, and at the same time, makes no sense. We see Stripe talking with Pat, and while he expresses himself, note that he makes the motion as if he were rolling up his sleeves. But what sleeves, since he doesn't wear clothes? This is certainly one of the biggest mysteries in Bluey. If you watch the episode Mum School, then you'll remember Greenie, a green-colored balloon who is also Bluey's son. And at the end of the episode, we see Greenie fly out of the window and gain his freedom. Remember, all this happens in Season 2 of the show. But as we know, all the episodes of Bluey are interconnected, meaning anything that happens in one episode has an impact in other episodes. And the detail about this is in the episode The Sign, where we witness Frisky and Radley's wedding. In one of the scenes, we get a quick shot of Sky, and guess who shows up? It's Greenie, flying around the sky of Brisbane. This is really cool detail which most of you never noticed. In the episode where Bandit takes Bluey, Bingo, and Mackenzie to the creek, they start at the playground, and we see a little pug buddy at the top of the slide waiting for Bandit to come out. Here, we find a really cool detail that many people never noticed. The detail is that Buddy is practically asleep while on top of the slide, and he starts to slip forward a bit while asleep until he's startled by Mackenzie, Bluey, and Bingo's joyful scream. Well folks, this is actually how pugs are in real life. If you have Pug as a pet, then you would know that they are really lazy and sleep a lot. As we all know, Bluey is identical to Bandit, while Bingo is much more like Chili. And that's really cool because it shows diversity within the Heeler family. But there's a characteristic of Bandit that neither Bluey nor Bingo ended up inheriting, his yellow belly, and that's really a distinctive feature of Bandit. But in the episode where we see Lila and Bingo's friendship throughout the years, we notice something very cool. If you look closely, you'll notice that as Bingo grows older, her belly, which was very light, starts to have yellow fur just like Bandit's. You can see that when the friends win the prize at the science fair, it's still a very light yellow, and when they graduate, the yellow is very vivid, really very similar to Bandit in that sense. If you have watched Bluey for a long time, then you would know that the long dog is a famous Bluey Easter egg that has appeared in every episode so far. But the detail is, in some episodes, the long dog appears in such a clever way that it's very hard to notice. For example, in the episode Sleepy Time, Bingo is exploring the planets in her dream, and here we can notice the long dog in rather unusual way. Right at this point, if we zoom in at the stars, we can notice a constellation, and if we connect the stars, it creates a long dog. Seriously, this is such a clever way to show the long dog. And that's not all. As we know, the long dog always appears alone, but that's not the case in the episode Double Babysitter. In this episode, Rad and Frisky babysit Bluey and Bingo. And in the end part of the episode, when Rad and Frisky are sitting in the balcony watching the night sky, we can notice two long dogs in the scene. This is probably the first time that we have seen two long dogs together. Moving on, in the episode Kids, we found a really intriguing detail. In the episode, during a quick trip to the supermarket, Bluey, Bingo, and Bandit play a game of kids, where Bluey plays mum, Bingo is her cute baby, and Bandit is her sulky son. And at the end of the episode, when Bandit and Bluey are passing by Toys Aisle, we can see a toy in the background. And on the cover, we can see a blue dog that resembles Bluey. And not only that, on the cover we also see a picture of a house. And if you look at it closely, you'll know it looks very similar to another house. Do you know whose house I am talking about? You all have probably guessed correctly. I'm talking about Bluey's house. So, the question here is, why is there a toy in Bluey that has Bluey and her house on the cover? Is Bluey a celebrity in her world? Maybe she is. So, these were some of the small details in Bluey that we noticed. If you learned something new about the show today, then leave a like on this video. And as always, we'll see you all in the next video.